So yeah, I did something you're really not supposed to do. I ended up tripling my creatine dose, going out on a limb. And here's exactly what happened. It wasn't really what all the internet bros told me would happen. I didn't suddenly just wake up bald, nothing like that. And I didn't blow up with water retention like the Michelin Man. But what actually did happen really did surprise me. So let me break it down for you. They did some lab tests that showed certain brands sold in the US were super underdosed. So drink, swirl, like James Bond, like shaken, not stirred, right? What is up, guys? Welcome to the video, and here's what we're gonna cover today. So there's a lot of topics. We're gonna cover what happened to my workouts, my recovery, how my mornings changed, whether the whole hair loss thing is real or is it just a myth, the scams that you should watch out for when it comes to creatine, and finally, my exact protocol so you don't waste time or money on the wrong stuff. So let's get into it. All right, so my experience, let me just start right off, energy in the gym, tripling my dose. I did notice I had energy in the tank, a little bit more, and it only makes more sense, right? Because 5 grams isn't gonna cover everyone's muscle mass. So it's going to be a little bit more individualized. So yeah, of course, I was able to pound out like a couple more reps, more push on the heavy lifts, like I was more into it. And of course, the recovery between sets felt smoother too, because of the phosphocreatine recycling, but we'll get into that. The weirdest thing though that I noticed was my mornings, I actually couldn't sleep in. Like even if I wanted to, I just felt like so on and ready to go for the day. Like the cortisol was just firing straight up in the morning, and even if I wanted to sleep, it was tough to go back to sleep because my body's just like, bro, you got the energy, let's do this. So that was the weirdest thing that I really felt straight out the gate. And no, I didn't really even experience crazy bloating even through my cutting phase. No sudden like hair loss whatsoever either. This was, kind of the low-key stuff that you're watching out for, because tripling the dose, you never know what's going to happen, right? And yeah, through my experience, I actually didn't experience any crazy bloating, water retention, or anything, even sometimes doing 15 grams in a single serving, right? So these are things I was looking out for, but they just didn't happen for me. Of course, I'm not on steroids, so I'm not going to lose my hair. So, that's the real thing that's going to contribute to hair loss, in my opinion. But let's go ahead. Let's clear this up. So creatine doesn't actually directly build muscle. It's not like steroids. It doesn't help your recovery like that. Think of it like a backup battery for your muscles, your brain, and your body, of course, runs on ATP. And creatine actually helps recycle that ATP faster, which means you'll be able to push harder for longer. So if you have that like extra push, because theoretically you have it in your muscles, you can push harder, but you still gotta freaking push, right? So it's completely different from steroids. Tell your mom I said so if you're trying to convince your mom to let you take creatine. It's all about effort still. Steroids, it's like how much effort did you put into injecting a needle into your ass, right? But with creatine, you take it and you still have to push in the gym to make it happen. So that's how creatine works. It's basically like creatine kind of just gives you extra ammo, like in Call of Duty. It gives you like maybe one extra magazine worth of bullets, so to speak. So now let's tackle the hair loss thing. So of course I wear a hat usually, but my hairline is pretty on point, believe it or not. I don't have genetics that predispose me to follicle miniaturization or even high DHT, honestly. But yeah, there's that big, like infamous rugby study, just one study that showed up, and even Andrew Huberman, of course, is like, oh, it might cause hair loss. But this is one study and it was never replicated. So creatine, in my opinion, does not contribute to hair loss whatsoever. If you do have some genetic susceptibility to it, just having androgens overall might cause that. But I think the real issue in my research when it comes to balding is blood flow. So people that do wear hats, which me, I'm, one of those people that wears hats almost all the time. I think it's all about blood flow. So if you get scalp massages often, if you're, laying down and you're not just standing up all the time, so blood can actually flow to your hair follicles and you have good nitric oxide and all of these things are on point, I don't think anyone should really worry about balding, because it comes down to blood flow at the end of the day. So, and on that note, even working out would help blood flow. So there's a missing link, I feel like. But creatine is not going to really move the needle when it comes to hair loss, in my opinion. Next, let's talk a little bit about like the scams, like the supplement industry, like nonsense, right, when it comes to creatine. So first up, we'll talk about the creatine gummies, because I know that was a big story like last year. Was independent, I think it was Now Foods, they did some lab tests that showed certain brands sold in the US were super underdosed, and even if you had no creatine, like 3 of them out of a list of 12, and 7 didn't meet label claims. So there's some things to be worried about when it comes to buying sketchy stuff on Amazon or wherever it may be. Overall, just don't be an idiot. Like, I'll include the list here on B-roll, so if you see that brand, then you'll know, but I think a lot of them probably rebranded at this point. So just kind of don't be an idiot. Like, if you can get good sourcing, do it. And I'm not saying like all gummies are trash. If you like them, fine. Like, I took some. In my experience taking gummies, I took gummies and they did not taste amazing. So if your creatine gummies taste amazing, it's probably a little sus in my opinion. I'm not saying they're all trash. If you like them, it's fine. It's convenient. But here's the thing. There are some ways that they actually store the creatine molecules, and it will break it down into more creatinine. So not all creatine remains stable, and we'll get into this a little bit later when we talk about Bang Energy. But in my experience, taking the gummies that are a little bit more opaque, like no light shines through them, that's probably going to yield a little bit better results, in my opinion. Because if your gummy is completely like see-through and you can see light passing through it, I doubt there's any real creatine in there, brother. So that's my take. I did take creatine gummies for like the first month and noticed these benefits. So if you get the right gummies, if you do your research on them, see if their website has the third-party testing to meet the label claims, then that's excellent. So, back to the creatine not being stable in like liquid forms and stuff like that. So Bang Energy, you guys might remember, the super creatine, they were sued over that by Monster Energy, and ultimately it was found out to be a complete gimmick. The creatine was not stable in the way that they claimed, and the lawsuits just piled up. So all of those Bang Energies that I drank, and you probably drank as well, they aren't helping your creatine out whatsoever. That stuff degrades within like a couple days. So 24 to 48 hours, it's going to see a huge drop off, and there's graphs that actually show this. There's some new creatine technologies that are coming out that I saw on Price Plow, and they actually found out a way to stabilize the creatine molecule so they can put it in drinks and have it stay like highly absorbable. So look out for that. I might dig that up from Price Plow and put it here just for you guys' reference. But yeah, be diligent with your liquid creatine forms. And if you do mix up some creatine, then don't leave it sitting for days. So here's the big thing that I was super excited to kind of experiment with is there's been a lot of light shed on studies when it comes to creatine, not just being for muscle. There's research that shows that it helps with the memory, focus, and even like stress resilience and loss of sleep even. So some studies are looking at that sleep quality boost, but really I think seeing creatine just as like a brain fuel, just as much as like a gym fuel, is the better way of looking at it. So yeah, getting bad sleep and losing hours throughout the week is not going to help you. But if you just can't avoid it, then I believe you can mitigate some of those like bad kind of just feels through the day. Instead of like reaching for caffeine first thing, then go for 10-15 grams of creatine just as like a precaution to at least hopefully feel better and give your brain that energy to overcome that damage ultimately from not getting adequate rest. So it shouldn't be like a band-aid fix, but it should be, a little bit of a temporary help is, I think, a good way to look at it. All right, so let's go ahead. Let's get into, I'll show you guys how I take my creatine usually. Of course, you can mix it up in just water. And right now I bought creatine monohydrate. I've taken this for the past 2 months, and one scoop is 5,000 milligrams or 5 grams. You know, just understand the metric system a little bit and you'll be good. But you know, I'm about almost halfway through this thing, so we're doing good. We're rocking and rolling. And what I do, like a little bit of a hack, it just makes it more pleasant in my opinion, but it also helps dissolve it in my experience. So this is coconut water, and this is just Vita Coco from out here. So it has a little bit more electrolytes as well, and there'll be a little bit of glucose, like sugar, natural sugars in here. And that's part of taking creatine, is you want a little bit of an insulin spike. And ideally you want to take it around activity too. So taking it 3 times a day, I'd say, is optimal if you can do that, like morning, noon, and then nighttime. And I don't experience much sleep issues. So some people I've coached, they say that if they take their creatine at night, then it keeps them up. In my experience, that's just not the case. So that's just my experience though. I think a lot of people psych themselves out, but experiment with what works for you. So here's 5 grams roughly, and here's 10, and then I'll take 5 later after the gym or so. And the thing is, guys, I think just think about creatine as much safer, and it's really just an energy source. Like, this is unflavored, there's no other additives in here, so keep that in mind depending on what formulation you buy. Like if you were to buy Ghost size, I believe is what it is, you're gonna get other stuff in there, so it's less versatile in just taking it. So as you can see, the creatine is formed at the bottom a little bit, and I've noticed when it comes to normal water, the separation is much more. But what I'll do is I'll drink some and then I shake it as I go. And this is just the way to do it. You want to drink it quicker so you get a little bit more of it. You know, it does degrade, you know, within 24 hours or so, 48 hours. So let's go ahead, let's drink this down. This is 10 grams, and this is about noon. This is like almost 1 p.m. here. So let's go. It's just more pleasant, like, especially when you're doing unflavored creatine, then you're expecting a flavor, right? And when I see this and taste it, it seems just like normal, like cow's milk in a weird way. Like, one, because it's like white like milk, and then 2, it just has that like smoothness, like that natural, I think it's like the structured water from being coconut water. So it just goes down like so easy. Whereas, you know, if you take creatine with distilled water, I don't know, it just seems super gritty, right? So drink, swirl, you know, like James Bond, like shaken, not stirred, right? And we almost got it. You can always splash a little bit more in there. But there you have it, 10 grams easy. That was enjoyable. What I would say is if you miss a dosage or miss a day or something, don't worry about it, just keep going. You'll still, you know, get some benefits, but consistency, of course, is the key. So try and make it visible. Like, I just keep it on my desk so I know, gotta take my creatine, it's right there. So that's it, guys. You know, after about 90 days of basically tripling my creatine, did I turn into Superman? Not really, but I definitely have much more energy in my lifts. Recovery is a little bit better. Waking up feeling just energized is great. No bald spots, no crazy side effects. The main takeaway here is creatine works, but only if you put the work in. You know, don't waste your money on underdosed gummies or like flashy super creatine bang energy. But, you know, if you get gummies, make sure they're opaque, or stick with something that's trusted, or just plain creatine monohydrate. That's what I'm doing now, and it's great. So stay consistent, keep training hard, let creatine amplify your effort in your cognitive support and your muscle gains. And yeah, follow me here on YouTube for more. I'm going to be posting a lot more. So like, subscribe, hit the notification bell. Follow me on Instagram, TikTok, or all of that other stuff. I've been recording a crap ton of reels and just content and just loving life. So if you want to see that, I've been doing vlogs here in the Philippines as well, so you can see what like the fitness life is, you know, traveling abroad. And I'm just a little bit more motivated to get into doing vlogs more. But if there's anything you have questions about, drop a comment below, and I appreciate you for your time. Hopefully you learned some good, and that's it. So I'll see you guys later. Peace.